Hi, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this platform of Global GHK and on this great occasion to commemorate the 90th birthday of Dr. Hamer. Isn't it wonderful even to come under the banner of what Dr. Hamer has given to the world? To remember him through our understanding and through our sharing is to acknowledge his work for us. And I also have to thank the founder member, Dr. C.J. Verghese, for giving us and me this opportunity to present today this topic, to understand how we realize how conflict within our psyche can cause a problem and what can be done to take care of it. So it's so very interesting to understand the progress of how DHS as shock that causes in the psyche of a person can run down its course, which cures itself, and it's nothing that is to be termed a disease. It's just the flow that helps us to bring about healing. And when we understand that, the freedom from fear is so real. Let's start our understanding through a few cases that I have seen in my clinic. See, this is a case of a boy with parchment-like cracks and thickening of his skin on his hands. So once this came into our clinic, what would run into the minds of people who understand it through GHK? First, we know that the epidermis is affected. So if we know that the epidermis is affected, then where is the epidermis affected? Epidermis is affected in the hands. So how easy it is to bring out the wonder that Dr. Hamer has already helped us to understand. So look at this, that's the part of the body, that's the hands, and the skin, that is the epidermis, is involved. So what do we do with our hands? We shake hands and we do everything. Whatever we do with our hands. So these two areas should be affected. One, doing, and the second is relation, the relationship. We handshake, so it's a relationship. So it's the doing and the relationship should have been a problem for this case. So little more to understand. So we know through the understanding of GNM, the epidermis covers the underlying corium skin. The epidermis is predominantly responsible for sensory perception such as temperature, pressure, and touch. The epidermis is controlled by the sensory cortex. Okay, so this is how we understand the epidermis. And what is the conflict that is associated with the epidermis? It's the separation conflict. The separation conflict also pertains to wanting to separate from a person, in the sense of wanting not to be able to push someone away, or when we have somebody that we don't want to have a relationship, annoying colleague or a schoolmate, etc. These are very words that is written in the text of GNM. And to understand how it's translated in this boy, This is an 18-year-old boy. He is having hearing impairment. Actually, he was not born deaf, but he became deaf, and he's now stone deaf. That is, his decibels is more than 100 decibels on both the ears. He uses hearing aid in both the ears and still can hear less. So this is the history of the patient. Okay, but what happened from all this time and now for him to present with the parchment like skin and the epidermis getting affected and on his hands? He is now walking into college, and his hearing impairment makes him reluctant to socialize with others in the college. He feels that he's lesser than others. He feels that he wants to try, he avoids the situations around him. He feels inside that he may be rejected or ridiculed. See, what he wants to do, he doesn't want to associate. Doing is the hands. He doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to be part of this situation around him. He wants to run away from that. So it's the hands that he doing, and the skin where the separation is. Separation in doing things. And this is how we understand what's the DHS here and how it translates to the boy's problem, and how we understand that the psyche shows itself in the skin. So the hardening of the skin is having a problem with the relationship, is hardening in the area of the skin where the defense mechanism is working, where the hardening of the skin is happening. So this is how easy it is to understand what's running in the patient's psyche, and when we understand that, even the cure is the back of the coin, the other side of the story. So helping him and helping this scar on the psyche that cost him this, from that how he blossoms out, helping him to socialize, helping him to understand he's not less than the other, helping him to take out the dent that happened in his psyche, is going to help him in his skin and otherwise. Now we're going to another case of the same area, the skin itself. Look at this skin picture. Again, the parchment-like skin. And why and where is it? One, we know it's the skin that is involved, and then we also know that it is the legs. Okay, so when looking at the skin itself, we will be able to even understand the story behind it. When I ultimately show you the story, just without the patient's pronunciation of the problem, we can easily identify what could be the problem of the patient. How? Because of the understanding that was given to us through GNM, and the knowledge, the GHK knowledge that we have, helps us to understand and perceive who is sitting and what would have been the conflicts that this patient would have had. So let me try to explain that. See, the skin and the leg. What do we do with the legs? The legs is to carry us from place to place. The legs is the next step we take in life. So when the future is involved, usually the legs are involved. We go the next step in future. When we say like what do we intend in the next step of our lives, it's the legs. The next step is the legs. That's future. So future, one, and the parchment like. That's one we know by now. It's the separation conflict. And why the parchment like? You see dryness in the skin. Okay, there's parchment like cracks and dryness in the skin. There's separation of the skin. So one, we know the separation of the skin is there, and then the dryness. So what more than the separation this case talks? So we know that the epidermis covering the underlying corium skin, and the epidermis predominantly is responsible for the sensory perception such as temperature, pressure and touch. The epidermis is also, we know, controlled by the sensory cortex. So as we it's almost a memory that it is linked to the separation conflict, and it's also the wanting to separate from a person, in the sense of wanting by not being able to push someone away, the fear of losing touch or contact with somebody, or feeling rejected by the person. These are the conflict situation can evolve into. Okay, and now look at the history of this patient. It's a 52-year-old woman. She had lent money to her siblings for their business purposes, which she had borrowed as a loan from a finance company. That means she had taken money on her security so that she can help her siblings to do good in their lives. However, when the need came, what was the need? Her husband's left eye is almost in the color of an opaque marble now, and they have to go to a specialist and be treated. If not, the husband is in the situation of losing his eyesight. Even in such a crucial problem, the siblings are not ready to pay back because they are not able to, and they are already in problems. She wants her own money back. She helps somebody, and now they are not repaying the loan, and her future and her husband's future is in jeopardy now. See, the future is the legs, and the separation is from her near and dear ones, and the story is clearly seen in the skin. And all this is so remarkably understood through GNM. So understanding GNM, anybody sitting in front of you, you know the story that is running in through them, and by that you can help them out. The psyche was the problem, the DHS in the psyche is the problem, and how to settle that. Conflict resolution in this area. There is a conflict, and conflict resolution will save the patient or will help the person to come out of it. So how we know this is there, and we have to help her out in the psyche, saying that this separation is shown here. This is only a result of what is happening, and how you can solve it by yourself, by understanding the situation and not getting worried in your mind. These things will help her, and as we counsel, will help her to come out of this kind of a problem. So shall we go into another case? The interest for me is that 90 years ago, as we are commemorating Dr. Hamer's birthday, 90 years ago, the art of understanding the psyche being connected to each cell, each part of the body, and how a conflict is the cause that causes the flow of the corrective problems in you. The body will correct. The body is going through a corrective process. And if we know this, we can help out and understand and make the person understand why it came and what can be done. So the cure is right there on the other side of the coin when we understand this side of the coin. So let's understand more of GHK that can help people around us. So look at this woman. She has conjunctivitis on one of her eye, and it's on her left side. So the left side is the heart side. That is, there should have been more of the emotions pertaining in her case. One, the left eye, is that something that she did not want to see, or that she wanted to see and could not see. So this is the conflict that she should have had. Let's understand this again a little more. The conjunctiva is the clear mucous membrane that lines the sclera, and it's the inside of the eyelid. So what is the main function of the conjunctiva? Is to produce tears, to keep the front surface of the eyeball moist. The conjunctiva consists of the squamous epithelium, and these originate from the ectoderm and therefore controlled by the cerebral cortex. All, as we saw, the ectoderm, the skin and conjunctiva, everything is from the cerebral cortex. So conjunctivitis is the red eye, and the symptoms of conjunctiva is burning, itching and watery eyes. So even the symptoms of conjunctivitis and the area, that is the mucous membrane, and the part involved tells the whole story. Look at this. We know this picture of the patient, their left eye, one, and there is itching, burning and watery eyes. So if there's watery eyes, that means tears is more. What it means? That there must be a psyche that caused tears. That means there must have been sadness. There must have been some separation, because it's the ectoderm, some separation that caused her sadness. And the itching and burning is that she's irritated, and there must be something that is the burning is the anger. So the burning, anger, itching, irritation and the watering of eyes is sadness. Look at this. When we understand the problem or see the problem itself, we know what's in the psyche. And through GNM, we can easily connect the story even before the patient spells it out. And we can direct our questions to this to find out the conflict and see if the conflict is real. That means we have an area where we confirm what GNM is teaching us and how real it is. We're confirming the truth that Dr. Hamer is trying to express through the words of his notes in GHK. So the knowledge helps us to understand people in front of us. So let's see what's the conjunctiva stand for, or the mucous membrane. So the biological conflict linked here to the conjunctiva is visual separation conflict. So it's a separation conflict, but in the eyes it's the visual separation conflict of having lost the sight of someone. I have not seen him for long. I don't want to see him. I cannot see him. These are the things. So conflict that relates also relates is to not being allowed to see someone or wanting to see someone. Both affects the eye. The fear of not able or not being able to or permitted to see a certain person may trigger the conflict. So the left hand is the mother or the child. The left side, the emotional side, technically is to the mother and child. So the history of this patient, a 62-year-old woman, recently had a fight with her daughter, after which her daughter no longer wished to see her. So now they're not in talking terms, and within a few days she's expressing an inability to see her daughter, inability in the vision. Her vision is having a problem, and she's expressing conjunctivitis, experiencing. So what it is, it's the irritation or the fight that was there that caused the conflict, and there is burning, that is anger because of this. But ultimately the separation, visual separation, or the that she may not be able to see or she doesn't want to see, is the factor that is affecting the eye. See how wonderfully, through the understanding of GHK and Hamer's principles, how beautifully we can understand the DHS. So we are confirming that whatever he discovered is the truth through our patients. Now this is another very interesting case. I'll put the case in front of you first, and then we'll try and understand it. It's for an introduction. This person is a mid-aged woman who came to me. She's about 40 years old, and she started pain. Let me tell you how the story goes. Okay, the complaints was just 1 month after a father's death, and the initial pain was in her hands and later spread to her legs and eventually affected the whole body. And uh, when this patient came into my clinic, it was almost, we would think immediately it was the death of the father, and there was a separation conflict, and it should have shown where the separation conflict should show, that is in the skin or the ectoderm. But this person came with a problem of the bones, the pain in the bones. So why the bones? Why there was no connection with the history of loss in the family and the pain here? And pain initially where in the hands, and then to her two and then to her entire body. A little bit of the story behind this patient. This patient in 1 month's time had visited two orthopedic doctors and one rheumatologist, and over a period of whole 1 month she had taken all kinds of painkillers and even gone to the extent of taking HCQS, that is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medicines, and she also has taken Folitrex, that is for autoimmune disease, by the rheumatologist finally, and with no relief in the pain that she's not able to dress herself or cook for the family or do anything. So severe pain was in this patient. So it was intriguing for me to find out why. It should have been the death of her father that she's experienced very recently, just a month ago, and why something that should be seen as a separation is not showing up here. Okay, so and we try to investigate the case, and the history came up this way. So it was not the death that caused her pain, but 16 days before the death, that is about 46 days before her coming to the clinic, or 16 days before the actual death, the sister of this patient came to her house, also for the same reason, because the father was in the deathbed, and the sister was not interested in the father per se, but she came here almost to taunt this sister of her living standards and her husband, and for them not being able to live according to how she was able to live. So she was talking about how her husband could make more money, how she could live in a status that is looked upon by the society, and why can't you walk up to it? You are a learned girl, you are studied, why can't you take up a job, why can't you earn more, why can't you come up to the family's requirement? These were their taunting for the full 16 years, and it was so painful for her that her husband also was included in this, and the pain was so much that she felt guilt, she felt devalued. And then we understood the story. Why the bones cannot be there. The pain in the bones should have a devaluation conflict, and I'm not seeing that. We're not seeing that. We're seeing it looks like a separation from the father, but the bones are there. So by asking this question, we know through GNM and GHK teaches us so vividly that there should be a devaluation for the bones to be affected. So look at the confirmation that the learning, that Dr. Hamer's understanding and how he brought out this is helping us to identify the DHS of a person. And then in later ways, by lot of questioning, we came to understand the real story behind her pain. See, this is what she said. Prior to the father's passing, her elder sister had come to us to stay for about 16 days to care for him, during which time she would often belittle her by making comparisons between their financial situation and her husband's careers. When this left her feeling very much devalued, severe devaluation conflict. Look at this. This was the pain and agony that went down to the very bones, not the separation that is on the ectoderm, not below, but deep down into the bones. Her pain was sinking down into all her bones, and she couldn't do anything about it. The hands were the first to show. She couldn't do anything. And the tomorrow is the legs. So what will happen about the tomorrow if this continues? Where it's going to end with these people and all the people around her looking at her and her husband this way? That's the devaluation she was carrying. And we know the learning behind this. The bones as well as the cartilages, tendons, ligaments originate from the new mesoderm and are therefore controlled by the cerebral medulla. The cerebral medulla, the bones and the joints of the right side of the body are controlled by the left side. So there's a crossover correlation. Okay. And the biological conflict, as we were struggling to understand, and we knew because the bone was there, it should have been a biological conflict of self-devaluation, severe self-devaluation conflict, because it was the bones and joints. And the loss of self-worth, the sister who her language and her talk made them look miserable, loss of self-worth. The generalized self-devaluation conflict concerns the whole person. So from hand to leg and then every part of the body was painful. So the devaluation was so severe. The conflict is experienced, for example, through humiliation. So that's why so severe. This woman went through not just devaluation but much more severe, that is humiliation. She was not abused, but the feeling of shame and guilt was great. So that's the burden and the pain that this woman was experiencing. So we look at the understanding, the loss of status that was there in her, very severe devaluation. So look at this story, that more than the loss of her father, the devaluation, then the feeling of shame and guilt and the humiliation that was in front of her was so bad and painful that she was crying out. She had to cry out in pain, and that is seen from the psyche down to the bones. This is just the picture of the psyche being pronounced in the body. So when we understand this the other side of the coin, how we counsel this person, how we make her come out of the shock, and how the change in the psyche can cause relief on the symptoms, and how we do it by saying that she need not feel because of somebody else's talk devaluated. She can have a value of herself, who was better off in taking care of her father, who was better off in taking care of the family. And is money a status symbol? But how better and greater were the thoughts of family and father and everybody around her, and to suffer for a good cause. And in that way we made her feel good and great, and surely the pain also started subsiding more than all the painkillers which were given to her. So this is from the conflict to cure, how we understand the patient, how it's so simple and revealing the people in front of us when we see them in the eyes or in the lens of GHK. And Isn't it right for us to every day or even in this month of May to commemorate the great signs that Dr. Hamer brought to us? And in India, for Dr. C.J. Verghese to give it to us or make it so interesting, make it a need that we are involved in. We could have had a share of us that walk like the other people, like a physician, walk like the other people, understanding disease as listed to us in our textbooks. But here we are, through the understanding of GNM and the understanding the Germanic healing process, the knowledge, and how we see the DHS affecting people, and it's nothing more than that. The process is just healing. The process is taking out or running its face in your life, and once you resolve, you're ready to cure, you're on the way to cure. So let me see if I can, if time permits, go into one last case. I have this time also about another 6 more cases, but I think time is running out and I will just go to one last case. So this is a case of bronchitis and leaning into bronchial asthma. This is I'll show you, it's a small boy of 7 years old. Okay, so his persistent cough, and the mother who brought him to me was perplexed. They've gone to pediatrician, they've gone and shown him elsewhere, and over months this cough is not becoming all right, over months. And she's saying that I should say that from childhood he's never walked out of a phase where he's healthy. Either running nose or cough or wheeze, he's always having something or the other related to the respiratory system. So it was so painful after being seen by many doctors all over the town of Coimbatore. These people came to us. So see, understanding GNM and through the GHK, Germanic healing knowledge, we can easily understand the story behind this case. So before understanding the story, let's understand what GHK pronounces to us. The bronchial tubes, where the cough starts, the bronchial tubes, they branch out from the trachea into 2 main divisions, the bronchi, and from there subdivide into each lung into millions of smaller ducts and bronchioles, that is alveoli, and finally the alveoli. The main function of the bronchi and the bronchioles is to carry air and into the alveoli, where oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged. So this is anatomical reality or understanding. Then we also know that the bronchial mucosa consists of the squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is flat cells, okay, originating from the ectoderm, and therefore it's also controlled by the cerebral cortex. Okay, so what is the conflict here? So we know the ectoderm is again the attack conflict or the territory conflict. So the biological conflict linked with the bronchial mucosa is the male territorial fear conflict. If it is a male, then it's a territorial fear. What's the territory? The territory is the surrounding. The territory is the comfort zone. The territory is where the person is placed. And for a female, it's the scare conflict. So depending on the gender, the laterality and hormonal status changes. So here the territorial fear conflict refers to the threat of territory, fear within the territory, within and out. So the examples which is given in GNM, it can be at home, It can be at school, it can be at kindergarten or daycare. A fear regarding one's own safety, territory, as well as the safety of the pack. Of pack means who is with. For a small child, obviously it should be the parents. So it also can be the physical abuse or family violence, mobbing, bullying, which are few examples that can trigger the conflict. So another understanding or another way to understand, what does the lung stand for? The lung or the respiratory system in complete stand for. The respiratory system itself stands for breathing. We need to breathe, and why do we need to breathe? We need to live. So lung is for life, and if there's a conflict in life, then the lung should be affected. So the same understanding of territorial conflict is understood this way too. So there is a problem with life. So what could be the problem of a 7-year-old child, and for years in his life, what could be the problem? It's very simple. So who is his life? At this age, who is his life? And especially from the age of 2 and 3 and 4, from where he's having this problem, his life is his family. That means his father and mother, his parents. So if there was a conflict in his life, that means with his parents, life, his family, his parents, then it should be shown in his lung. So the immediate things that run in our minds should be, the territory is within the house for a 7-year-old, and his threat is there itself. So who else? His parents could be the triggering factor. This is one. And when you think in these lines, we understand who could be the triggering factor, and then we need to find out that to relieve it here. So then we go to the case and ask them, and really try and understand why this child is having this continuous hanging conflict that is going on in him. So it's not just an issue, but the issue is continuing. It's a hanging conflict that's going on. So the story is, it's a 7-year-old boy presenting with the complaints of bronchitis and asthma and running nose and cough, and his parents have a history of misunderstanding and conflicts running through just after the boy was born till now, and they often fight and argue in front of him and his since his childhood. So the history here is so very clear, confirming again Dr. Hamer's theory, where there is a conflict in the family, where there is a territory, or his comfort zone is really in question. And see, this is how it shows. And where? In his lungs. Why? Because lungs is for life, lungs is for his breath, lungs is life. So that's where it shows. So when a patient presents to us, it's easy to understand why the lung, why the congestion in the lung. What's the congestion and the phlegm stands for? Phlegm stands for, it's a healing process of the body. So it causes the phlegm to heal the insult that is happening in the lung. So if we understand this, then we go in, and what's my topic is conflict to cure. So when you understand this, then you pronounce your understanding to the unknowing parents and educate them to make them understand that the psyche of the child is being affected, that they have to be careful, they have to change the way that the child's comfort zone or territory is maintained, and by doing that, this child is relieved of the DHS and he walks into cure. See, again, thanks to Dr. Hamer, thanks to his theories, thanks to what he has brought into the world. By understanding itself is cure, just by understanding. So with this, I would like to end my presentation, and I am so happy to try to, in my clinic and through these cases, I am so happy and thankful to the founder of GNM, Dr. Hamer, for the great theories that makes disease, the so-called disease, not to have the term of disease in our minds. So we understand the psyche better, understand the implications of psyche through the mind on every part of the body, and so we are well equipped by this understanding. That's why Germanic healing knowledge, by this healing knowledge that he has passed down, we pronounce healing to the people in front of us. What a great gift. I thank today Dr. C.J. Verghese and Dr. Hamer for all their efforts, all their wish into making this knowledge, GHK, ready and presentable to the world around us, so that the world around us can be a livable place, not a threat by the diagnosis that are put into the lives of patients, that threaten them into death and disease. Thank you, one and all.